Good afternoon. Welcome to the Word Ninja podcast. We're here on July 28th, 2013 for episode 5. And we don't have a title yet because reasons.
The quickening.
Yes. If this is your first episode catching us, the Word Ninja podcast is approximately a 2-hour-long discussion on writing, reading, and general literary news of the moment. I'm your instigator of literary insanity, Charles Muir, and we are joined today with one Calvin Williams.
Hello, everyone.
One Edward Elric, or Edward Midnight.
Hey, hi.
And one William Granville.
How are you doing today?
And to kick things off for this week, we have some new literary news for you all. And to kick things off, we are going to talk about Owl King Publishing, because they are very entertaining and worth talking about.
Do tell.
Well, as I try and bring up the actual URL on my tablet, I shall pretend like I know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's primarily a single author who is doing a 3-way trilogy without the innuendo. But it's basically 3 trilogies that all tie into each other in crazy ways, so you can kind of start reading from any particular part of it, and it all ties in eventually.
Sounds trippy.
Yeah, he calls it the interlocking matrix, which sounds like it's from Star Trek or some such. Yes, that. Let's see. Go to Calvin's screen, because he knows all about screen sharing.
Woot.
And the author of these was actually a vendor at Connecticon. Surprise, surprise. And I got to talking with him for a couple minutes about the 3-way trilogies, and it seemed like a very interesting concept, and I kind of want to check out these books just to see how do you do 3 different trilogies that all tie in magically to each other regardless of the order you read them in.
Just thinking about it hurts my head from a writing standpoint.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the logistics of how do you keep track of that many storylines that all interconnect.
I'd want one of those giant whiteboards that have like that spider web crisscrossing plot point thing on it just to try and keep track.
I think it would have to be like 4 or 5 of those whiteboards. You might need to create a tesseract or something out of them all. But from what I could tell, that's definitely an interesting series worth checking out if you have the time and money to invest in them. I hope to in the future, but at the moment...
Now, the books are only $10 a piece, which is a good price for a book.
True, they are cost-effective at the moment. My current budget does not allow it, though. I just dropped down a good portion of money for fall classes and textbooks.
Ouch.
Yes. So I'm gonna have to whittle down my overly large to-be-read pile already before I can add anything new to it. Let's see here. Going back to the show notes.
This is quite interesting because he's got like 6 trilogies, and the different books fit into the different trilogies in different orders.
Yeah, there's one page on there that shows like the full matrix and how it all magically works together.
Oh, there it is. That's crazy. It's like literary math.
Yeah. If Calvin can click on the interlocking matrix, I think that's the link.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, so that'll show like the little cross section of the books so far. I guess he still needs to write the Netherworld trilogy, but they magically tie into the other three trilogies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ow, my brain.
Yeah.
Basically.
So for any of you future peoples checking out this podcast, have you read any of these books or encountered anything similar to this? Has anyone else, any other writer actually tried doing an interlocking matrix style? Because this is the first I've ever seen or heard of it. It looks fascinating, but incredibly confusing.
Definitely a fun challenge for this author.
Yeah, I'd love to get him either on the podcast or just for an interview to kind of learn more about it and how he manages to handle it all. I think it would be an interesting perspective to get.
Most definitely.
And unless there's any other commentary about this particular piece, we can roll on to the second piece of literary news. Which is tabbing between show notes and everything else, the blog of Leona Wisoker, which is an author and writer that we also met at Connecticon, who stopped by our booth for a few minutes.
Here we go.
And I kind of just like the little subheader for her page. What's great about writing? Everything! Well, almost. That really does seem to sum it up for a lot of us.
Oh, yeah.
This is more of just a general blog of a writer, but she does do book reviews and interviews and all sorts of useful little posts about this and that that I thought was worth sharing. And she is another one on my to be interviewed or possibly get on the podcast list. I still have to touch base with her at some point in the near future to see what her scheduling is like. There was one particular sub-page on here I wanted to point out, but I did not put it in the show notes, and thus I cannot find it.
Do you remember what it was about?
Was it the Devon Monk blog?
No, that's talking point number 3. Or at least literary news piece number 3. Stupid tablet, let me click on things. Drop-down menus do not work well on tablets. It confuses them.
Oh God, you don't have to tell me.
Aha! Under the Writing and Research tab of her menu, there's the first drop-down option, a grimoire of grammar.
There.
I thought was an interesting post about writers and grammar in general. That one.
Ah, there it is.
Let's see.
Yeah, plenty of us out there are writers, but we are not necessarily fans of grammar and punctuation or necessarily as adept at them as we should be.
Grammar? What's that?
It's this thing that no one uses anymore.
I does not know what is
They are English.
America.
And all of a sudden, my sound has gone quiet.
Oh.
Probably someone got muted on the background. Because Google Hangouts is silly.
I am technically muted.
I can hear you.
And everybody here with me.
Yes.
Okay, good.
As long as we can all hear each other. And
Yes.
theoretically, listeners can hear us in the future.
Yes. Love you.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Yes, you really are in the same room. Contrary to what it looks like.
But yeah, I thought that was just an interesting blog from a writer worth checking out. And with that, we can migrate to the third piece of literary news, which is another writing blog. This one is Devin Monk's, who is one of my favorite authors of this decade anyway.
He has some nice steampunk stuff on his blog. And ale.
Yeah, Devin Monk is an author of, I forget how many books are in the series now, I think 8 or 9, the Ali Beckstrom series, and a growing series of steampunk, I don't think it's noir. I haven't actually read the steampunk series yet. Although I have the first book in the series in my to-be-read pile.
This seems quite relevant to my interests.
To all of our interests.
Yes.
Mm.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, I guessed right. There are 9 books in the Ali Beckstrom series. Which means I think I am 2 books behind. Shame on me. I happen to like that series because it involves a lot of various magic, politics, and messing with people's minds.
Fun.
And this, I felt this was also an author worth pointing out because for the Ali Beckstrom series, she publishes 2 or 3 of the books per year.
Oof.
Mm.
Yeah. This is her full-time job, and she does it with style.
Nice.
Impressive.
And apparently also has time for various knitting things as well.
Stress relief from all that writing.
I have to admit, the little rain clouds just got on very cute.
And if I remember correctly, a lot of those things that she knits, she also has the patterns up within the posts usually, for those who are knitting enthusiasts.
Ooh, lip balm, buddy? What?
Yeah, I remember that one. That was kind of a fan favorite, I believe.
Nope, no worries. Nope. No.
Who doesn't need a little Cthulhu lip balm, buddy?
I don't know, but I like her is it the 19 knit one? But that goes back to my own fandom.
Oh my, Soap Thulu. Yeah.
Oh, is that the Silk Lulu?
It's interesting. Yeah, yeah. No words. You just have to go check it out yourself.
And the links for all three of these talking points will be in our show notes for easy viewing.
Okay, sorry for the sidetrack.
What is this Soap Thulu?
It's
Oh, good lord.
all I can think of is poor Happy.
That's where my mind went to. And no one outside of this podcast will understand that reference, unfortunately.
It's probably for the better.
Yeah. Basically, bad things happen after a long day at a convention and we have too many plushies.
And alcohol.
And alcohol.
And alcohol. Though no plushies were hurt, we promise.
Yes.
As far as, well, physically. Emotionally.
Yeah, psychologically is a whole nother issue.
I think Happy's going to need a few years of therapy now.
He may have to change his name for a little bit.
Call me sad.
So now he's the blue cat of unhappiness?
I would say mild depression.
Aww.
Blue cat of slightly disturbed thoughts.
But yes, that is our three little news points for the week. 1 publishing company and 2 writing blogs. Please check those out when you have a moment, because they are definitely worth your time. And they will entertain you, I assure you. And with that, onward to the talking points for the week. Starting with talking point number 1. What writing styles just do not work for you? So, of all the various writing styles and techniques that you've tried throughout the years, which ones have not been effective, or that you just hated with an unholy passion? I have a feeling this is going to be a tricky one because even I don't have a very good answer for this one after thinking about it for a couple days. But I thought it was a worthwhile question to ask.
What's the name of that official writing style that they always teach us in school?
What, the essay style?
Something like that. I don't know. There's one with notations and yeah, I don't know.
I know, like, the official essay style is you need to have 5 sentences per paragraph. You need an intro, 3 body paragraphs, and a summary.
Well, that's not. That's more for essays. That's.
Yeah. And I have yet to use that particular format anywhere outside of academia.
Hmm.
I don't think
Same here.
Outside of high school academia.
Yeah.
I haven't even done that in college. Or second college. So, nuts to that.
There was one. I had a class. Maybe it wasn't a writing thing. Maybe it was just a report writing thing, but it sucked. Any style that isn't my style.
I don't know. The only thing I found that really annoyed me was I can only liken it to Zach Brannigan. Okay, when people write like that, I can't do it personally. But
Like write the way he talks.
yes, that is screwed up third person.
I am the man who has no name, Zach Brannigan.
Yes, that's that. That is
I mean, I've done different styles. Like, I've written script style before, which I didn't have a problem with. Poetry is tricky.
Depending on if it's free-form poetry or not.
Yeah. It's usually easier just to free form. If you really want to go crazy, just E.E. Cummings it.
Well, that's just cheating.
Hey, that man made a lot of money. Or at very least his estate did.
Apologies.
Calvin, it's time to wake up already.
That was actually my ringtone. Yeah, my phone decided to epic fail on me like an hour before I had to leave for Delaware yesterday.
Yeesh.
That was exciting. Silence.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of write my way. I never really followed a style.
I think I've basically been able to boil my styles down to one for work, which is very short and to the point, and like the bottom line on top type style, and then my personal writing for my novels and whatnot, which is the exact opposite. So anything in between, I just don't even want to bother with anymore.
I only have 2 main writing styles, poetry and narrative. I've seemed to have gotten narrative down pretty well. I'm still working on poetry, though. I still haven't mastered the art of poetry just yet.
I don't think anyone ever does.
Yeah, I don't think there's really too many right or wrong ways of doing poetry anymore. It's just whatever style you put it together in, that's what it is.
I think it would help if my brain wouldn't like stop working in the middle of me writing a poem.
Hallelujah.
That's where the whole like
The one day
Massive.
he decides to mow the lawn.
that's where I end up having like pages and pages full of like half-written poetry and lyrics and like strewn around everywhere. Gotta do something about that at some point.
Yeah, that's how I am with story ideas lately. Like, ooh, that's such an awesome idea. And then I write down half of it. Wait, what was the rest of the idea? It was so clever and awesome, but I don't remember it anymore. And then the half that I have written down makes no sense whatsoever without the context.
I know those feels. Or when you're writing and you're in the middle of a scene, you have one of those brain just suddenly stops. no more. You come back the next day and you look at your half-finished scene and just go, what the hell was I doing?
Like I said, this is usually where it gets me.
Okay, then. How about talking point number 2? What's one piece of writing advice that stuck with you? And it can either be one that you agree with or don't.
I have a piece of advice that works for writing. It pretty much works for everything. We're all familiar with it, so feel free to chant along. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
But what if I've eaten within the last 60 minutes?
That's an old wives' tale. Writing advice.
I think for me, echoing what C.J. Henderson said in the interview, which we will post up very soon, I promise. just do it. It's very easy to get caught up in like work and all the different things that you do, or just laziness and absent-mindedness, but let's get to it.
Yeah, I think his rant on writer's block or whatever the instigating question was really good, and it will be great to get that on the website at some point, and hopefully it'll be hearable.
I'm still working on the audio, man. It's been a killer, man. I'm sorry.
It happens. But I know it basically boiled down to there is no such thing as writer's block. It's only fear and laziness.
Yes.
So whatever excuses we may try and think of about the muse being disgruntled at us, it's just our own laziness and procrastination.
And how?
Can't really argue with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I am feeling that today because I am 2 days behind on my writing quota, and I just don't want to do it.
I finished a short story today, so I feel accomplished already.
Hooray! You
So
get a gold
I
star.
finished writing it yesterday, but I finished editing it today.
You get 2 gold
Nice.
stars.
Where are these gold stars redeemable?
The internet?
With Cthulhu.
Oh, but Cthulhu doesn't have wonderful prizes.
He does.
Depends on your definition of wonderful.
Well, at least they're not redeemable with the cuttlefish.
What's the difference?
With that, how about talking point number 3? What has been a Eureka moment in writing? Or when something that you've been working on just magically falls into place or makes sense?
I tend to have those when flipping through YouTube.
I actually had one of those moments sometime last week. And as usual, it's through crazy, freaky dreams after having too much tea or watching strange YouTube videos. But it basically brought my steampunk tea shop assassin baker plot into context,
Oh.
where I figured out who the main villain was and what their various quirks were, and I still haven't figured out why they are so absurdly creepy.
Maybe they were just born that way.
I hope not, because that would be terrifying.
Creepy baby. I don't know. The only Eureka moment I can think of with the current story I'm working on was when I realized that my main character probably has PTSD.
Aw.
That hit me completely on random, too. I had written a scene. It hit me later. I had written a scene, all nightmare involved, and flashbacks and panic attacks. And later on, I was reading something that someone had posted on Tumblr about the effects of PTSD and whatnot. And I'm like, that sounds like exactly what I just put my character through. Oh, my character has PTSD. It's kind of a sad Eureka moment. And then I wrote a drabble about it.
And how about the Calvin? Have you had any Eureka moments with writing or with your music at all?
Ah, I got a good one. There was a song I started working on back in 2001, and it started off absolutely amazing. I had the chorus and everything, and it started off very well, and then I couldn't get past the chorus. So for 8 years, it was nothing but this chorus, and I wanted so desperately to finish it, and I also had a friend that would not let me not finish it. And then I had one day, just out of the clear blue sky, I just had a flash of an idea to kind of get the song actually off the ground. It was just a simple riff that ended up becoming the base of the entire song. And once I figured out what I needed to get that song off the ground, I got it done in 3 days. Will and Ed, I'm not sure if you heard the song, but CJ, you've heard the song. It's Springtime.
Ha, nice. That is one of my favorite of your songs.
I don't think I've heard that one.
I'll link you guys to it.
I have Rusty Airplanes, and I have Say Something.
Oh my God, Say Something. I forgot about that one. That's oh man, that's like a silent favorite of mine.
I have the acoustic version sitting in my music file.
Man, that one was another Eureka moment, actually, thinking about that. Because I don't know, I was sitting in jury duty of all places.
What did you do?
Nothing terrible, I don't think. But I was just sitting at lunch, just chatting with everybody, and then all of a sudden, so I just had an aha moment. So I broke out my phone and just started typing furiously until the lyrics came out. I wish I could have more flashes of Eureka moments like that, because that was fantastic. And I really need to do more with that song. First, I need to figure out if I still have the original recording. I'm pretty sure I do.
Chances are you do. On one of your 50 or 60 hard drives somewhere.
I have the acoustic recording of it.
That's actually the only recording of it.
Well, I can, if you can't find it, I can always send it back to you.
Actually, I remember. Thinking about it, I remember all the lyrics. I remember the melody and everything. So I could recreate it if I, well, not really if I want to. I should. That was a great moment in my life, and I really need to make a more complete version of it.
We had a Eureka moment at Kineticon for stupid. I don't remember how that went though. Something about. Was it about the fact that we were going to get food?
Yes, we were standing on the concession line, and some random house track was playing, and I just heard the 4 on the floor beat and was thinking about food, and that's how it got started.
Food.
And a comment you made somehow. I forget what it was, but
Dubstep food.
Oh boy. This is what happens when we spend too much time together.
I have that effect on a lot of people. This one over here, how many drawings have I influenced? A couple.
Couple. Probably the most recent, the lethal weapon one.
The lethal weapon one. Yeah, that was a good one.
Like, one of these days, we should, just all get together for, a week and see what happens.
Either we would take over the world, or we would destroy the world.
That works with me.
Destroy it, take it over?
You have plenty of room at my house for you guys to sleep.
It would be a hell of a lot of fun. That's all I know. I mean, between the ridiculous amount of corruption that is psychic corruption that has gone on between me and CJ from 2004 to 2007 and on, and the crazy ideas that have come out between you and me, Will.
Not sorry.
Neither am I. Just saying. But I digress. Eureka moment. That was it. You see, y'all just saw Eureka moment right there.
They're so unpredictable.
If only Google Hangouts had a dramatic little light bulb effect for us.
Wait, do they?
I don't know. I haven't actually checked out the toolbox and all that stuff very much.
Well, you can overlay an image.
I know it's kind of a goal at one point just to play, do a test hangout and see what every little random effect actually does.
But we could have music playing, and special effects, and
Yeah,
like
some of those
that.
special.
Yeah, there's sounds.
Yeah, they have various effects, but it doesn't look like they have a light bulb.
Oh, that was
Close.
close. That's supposed to be a PNG file. Oh well.
Good enough.
Oh, that doesn't work. It did say experimental. This is the background.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I was playing with that too. Yeah, that really doesn't work. I will shut that off.
Click on it again.
Okay. That was really bad. Yeah.
Ding.
There you go. Oops. How do I go back?
If you're joining us, this is the Screw Around with Google Hangouts Hour.
This is like the opposite of the technical difficulties portion of the podcast.
This is the easily distracted portion.
Yes.
Hey, that's half the fun there. I mean, if all the guys at The Verge can do it, can like screw around and go on random tangents in the middle of their podcasts, I mean, why can't we? They're freaking professionals.
Well, it's our show. We can do whatever the heck we want.
That's right.
As long as it still conforms to Google and YouTube rules. But other than that, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, they're kind of easy to please.
Yeah, relatively. I think we're mostly just distracting each other because no one really wants to get into the what have you been reading and what have you been writing segments. Myself included.
I'm too busy writing to read. What was that old Homestar runner line? Oh, I wrote something earlier, and then I read what I wrote.
Well, since we've kind of covered the talking points as best as we're going to, we might as well try our luck at the what have you been reading segment. Which begs the question, have people been reading?
How about we augment the question to, what do we plan on reading in the near future?
That works too. What are people planning on reading?
One of the books that I bought at Kineticon was a graphic novel called Poorcraft
Yes.
by Spike Trotman.
Now, just for clarification, poor craft or pork craft?
Oh, Poorcraft, Poor.
It sounded like the other, and considering our group, anything was possible.
Stupid Eureka moments. Shut up, brain.
Oh no.
Actually, I kind of want to know what pork craft gave you for an idea. As long as it wasn't dirty.
No, it wasn't dirty. It's
I just see interwoven strips of bacon.
that was pretty close.
So bacon weaving, pretty much.
to a certain extent. God.
And now all I can think of is, like, bacon mancy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Sailor Bacon.
Sailor
Bacon.
God.
Oh, bloody hell, man. That was one of those things where you kind of wish you could have unseen that,
No.
yet you don't.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what their reactions are going to be if they actually try and search for Sailor Bacon. What will come up?
You may or may not want to search for Sailor Bacon.
If you're a fan of, like, Least I Could Do or Looking for Group, Gutters, then you might be okay with it.
Oh, it's not the first thing that comes up, though.
No. What comes up?
Some dude.
Huh. There
Look up
actually are Sailor Bacons.
if you want to find Sailor Bacon. Well, at least a drawn image anyway. Look up Sailor Bacon Lar de Souza on Google and click on the second result.
There are actual photos of him too.
Yeah, I saw the photo. Yeah.
No, photos, plural. There was more than one.
Well, makes a great Sailor Scout.
And this is how writers distract each other.
Pretty much.
Hey, the greatest ideas come from distraction.
I'm going to write a story about Sailor Bacon. Oh, wait, I tried to write a Magical Girl parody story once before.
It didn't work very well.
It did not.
Now I'm kind of curious how Sailor Bacon would fit into the My Roommate's a Stripper universe.
God. I don't even know.
Sailor Bacon. I'm not sure if Sailor Bacon will work well in that universe. The All Things in Between universe, however.
Oh, yeah. I could have sworn. There it is. Uncle Lar. Aside from his whacked out Marios that he drew up, I don't know if anyone's seen them, but he did a Mario Monroe, a Mario Manson, and a Mario Meekins. So if you've ever wanted to see Mario in a dress, unclelar.tumblr.com. Yeah, unclelar.tumblr.com. Ah, there it is. Sailor Bacon. I guess he didn't post the photos.
No, you can look on Facebook.
They were on Facebook. I'm not going back on Facebook.
I'm kind of surprised there aren't that many images of just sailors with bacon when you do that search. You'd think that would be an option.
See if I can screen share this real quick.
Yeah, there's the drawing of it.
Oh my.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I would fit Sailor Bacon into the roommate universe.
A tweaked out stripper at Stardust.
She'd never get in the door. The mistress would be like, leave.
The only way I could see it.
Or maybe a stripper that fell from grace there.
Oh, good God. I can't take this kind of pressure. I need my The only feasible thing I could think about is Aiden's little sister is into anime and whatnot, so she would go to conventions, which is where you're likely to see a Sailor Bacon.
I kind of hope that we do not see a Sailor Bacon at Anime Boston.
Oh, you probably will.
Yeah.
Unless it's actually Lar de Souza himself. Then I'd be okay with that.
That would be acceptable.
His beard will probably still be dyed by then, or it might be coming out. This has nothing to do with what we want to read.
Yes, it is. Kind of.
Want to read about Sailor Bacon?
Yeah.
How did we get on that to begin with?
I don't even remember. Oh, Poorcraft.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my fault.
Warcraft. It's a graphic novel by Spike Trotman, and Spike Trotman wrote it, and it was drawn by Diana Nock. Here's a summation here. Poorcraft is the essential comic book guide to practical urban and suburban frugality. Whether you're new to independent living, a recent college graduate, or just downshifting to a simpler lifestyle, Porecraft can help you with everything from finding a home to finding a hobby, dinner to debt relief, education to entertainment. It's time to cut your expenses, or just make sure they never pile up. So I'm excited about reading that. I just need maybe 4 more hours out of the 4 more hours to a regular day to get to it.
I know that feeling all too well. As for me, I started reading The Innocent Mage by Karen Miller. I only got about 2 chapters in so far because I was easily distracted this week.
Seems to be the way of the week.
Yeah. But to give people an idea for that book, which is a 2-book duology, I guess it would be. The first sentence is not as stimulating as others. The first sentence of this book is 997, 998, 999, 1000!
I'm sold.
For those that might need a little bit more than that, the back teaser is "The innocent mage is come, and we stand at the beginning of the end of everything." Being a fisherman like his father isn't a bad life, but it's not the one that Asher wants. Despite his humble roots, Asher has grand dreams, and they call him to Dorana, home of princes, beggars, and the warrior mages who have protected the kingdom for generations. Little does Asher know, however, that his arrival in the city is being closely watched by members of the Circle, people dedicated to preserving an ancient magic. Asher might have to come to the city to make his fortune, but he will find his destiny. And hopefully it's a little more exciting than that first sentence. I am only 2 chapters in, so we'll see how it goes. Does anyone else have things on their to-be-read list?
A small stack of manga I need to read.
Yeah, thanks to a few Amazon gift cards, I finally got the various Spice and Wolf mangas and novels that I'm behind on.
I need to pick up. There's a couple of those I'm behind on, but I got a couple of volumes of Naruto to read that have been sitting there for a while.
Yeah, I actually read through them before you did.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, I'm only halfway through the other one.
And
If you're getting close to being current on Naruto, I don't think you're gonna miss much.
I don't know anymore. I'm semi-current. I believe when I picked up those 2 volumes, it made me current, but that was about a year ago, so it's probably not the case anymore.
I don't know. If that's the case, those might actually have some plot to them, and then future ones are going to be filler. Lots and lots of filler.
Yeah, I'm still in a storyline, so I'm not expecting this to be too much filler yet.
Oh, just wait.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not that... Naruto isn't the highest on my priority list. Bison Wolf is higher on the priority list. And I have I am assuming, most recent volume of Jack Frost. I think I need to reread that whole series. Of course, it's only 6 volumes, so... That's a dark one. It is kick-ass, but it's very dark. It has nothing to do with our friendly little winter sprite at all. It's more about
nothing about that series.
It's a good series. I got the...
On the bottom there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy is...
This here is the volume I need to read still.
Oh dear.
6. That is Jack Frost on the cover there.
He looks a tad grumpy.
He always has that smile on his face, and he wears, what is it, Death's cloak, I think
Something
it is?
like that,
It's
yeah.
Death's cloak. It's an interesting story. I'd have to get probably volume 1 to read the actual intro thing. But it's a good series by Korean. It's actually by a Korean author, if I remember right.
Yeah, both of those are.
Yeah, this one's by a Korean author, Jin-Ho Cole.
Yeah, because that one's published, I would say, forward, our way.
Yeah, it's not. It's written left to right, not right to left.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's just confusing.
Excuse me.
A little bit. If
Right
I've been
now-
reading a lot of manga and then I go to read webcomics, I get confused.
The only manga I kind of want to start getting into and catching up on is Attack on Titan.
That thing really...
It's apparently really popular on the Tumblrs these days.
I've watched, I think, 9 episodes of the anime so far, and it is so absurdly confusing and weird. But supposedly the manga is so far ahead of the anime, so I kind of want to see where it goes. To see if it actually makes sense.
Nothing makes sense.
I don't know, everybody keeps paralleling it to FMA. So I'm not sure I want...
I don't see that yet. But I guess I'm still pretty early in.
There it is. Volume 1 of Jack Frost. Doesn't he look so friendly?
He looks so cuddly and happy.
See, the back teaser here is any high schooler on a nerve-wracking first day at a new school is apt to lose his or her head a little. But in Noah's case, she literally does. When she wakes up in one piece with a little help from a mysterious doctor, Noah quickly realizes that nothing is as it seems at Amityville High, where paranormal creatures battle for supremacy. Caught in the crossfire, Noah may have to rely on the unlikely, and possibly unreliable, aid of the most sinister student at Amityville, the deadly Jack Frost.
Interesting.
It is pretty interesting when she does literally... Oh yeah,
Lose her head?
there it is. Lose her head. Don't worry, she doesn't die.
It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, she is the only one who cannot die in this school. That makes her special and everyone wants her. Haven't read in far enough to the point to really know why. Something about awakening some power or something. I don't know.
Something necessarily dramatic.
It's been pretty dramatic, very bloody, pretty violent. Very good, though.
I'm intrigued.
I did like in the first chapter, her biggest concern after getting her head cut off is when she sees her body slumped over, with her skirt flipped up and her panties fully exposed. And the two guys that are fighting in the room can see her panties, and that's what she's freaking out about. Not that she lost her head, but that people can see her underwear.
Because manga.
Priorities, man.
Yeah, I'm hoping to kind of go on a reading spree in August before classes start up again and I lose all my evenings. Hopefully I can trim down my to-be-read pile, which is actually 3 piles.
Oh.
Yeah. I should do something about that. With that, we can kind of roll into what have you been writing this week? Going on the presumption that people have been writing this week.
I have been.
Huzzah! What have people been writing?
Bandage.
For the sake of the podcast, can we have answers more than one word?
I don't know if I can really talk about it too much.
This is a family-friendly podcast.
I don't know about that. We've sworn and gone over some pretty quirky topics within just 4.5 episodes, so...
I think we've passed that realm already.
I wrote sad.
Oh.
But I also happen to, you know, for those of you who are familiar, love Roy and Ed. So, yeah. I wrote very sad feels that required a very sad Roy.
All of the
is it raining again for him?
Figuratively speaking.
So that only makes him figuratively useless?
Yeah. Oh, basically what it was is this is why I said I should not be allowed to listen to this stuff on YouTube. I was flipping through yesterday and found Home to Say, I think is what it's called, by Josh Groban. And I instantly got this whole thing in my head where Roy is sitting on this porch. And, of course, Ed can't sit still. So he's been gone for like 10 years. And, yeah, Roy misses him. So, I don't want to spoil it, because it is up on my Tumblr page for you to read.
As for me, I've been doing a surprising amount of business writing at work. I got a couple blog posts here and there, but I've mostly been trying to focus on the next writing reference book, Lit Jutsu. I finally got the full outline put together, and I'm trying to get it done by Nano, because nothing else is going to happen during November. Just flat out. And thanks to watching a little bit too much of Happy Tree Friends before going to bed, yeah, that gave me ideas for the main villain in my steampunk tea shop assassin baker plot.
I can only imagine.
And this is why you should not be allowed to watch YouTube.
Yeah. So now the main villain of that steampunk universe is the Marionette, who kills people in very creative ways and dismembers various parts of their bodies and replaces them with marionette parts and displays them elaborately so that they kind of look like they're still alive, only not.
Yeah, that's pretty disturbing.
I'm interested.
As kind of a little paragraph or two preview, the whole start of the book is now basically the female main character gets to meet the Marionette. And I'm not sure if it's going to end well or not. Although hopefully it ends off relatively well, considering it's the beginning of the book. But for a bit of preview for people, because I like giving small samples, the smell of cog grease and rotting paint was palpable in the interrogation nook. While sharpening his instruments, a shuffling of torn silk and a tinkling of delicately forged chains moving on the floor brought the Marionette away from thoughts of trestled cadavers and back to the assassin manacled on his workshop floor. I see the soporific has finally worn off, enough that we can have some fun, the Marionette said, surveying the young woman, whose tattered cream-colored dress was now splotched with stains and touches of blood belonging to neither of them. And that's how my story starts.
Creepy.
Walking away now. That's intense, man.
That was my Eureka moment for the week. And it filled my creepy quota for the week as well. And possibly the month, for that matter.
I was getting ready to say just the week.
It's been a long time since I've actually worked on a very creepy character. Most of the time they're just silly or violent, or both.
Yay for silly violence.
I think the creepiest character I worked on recently was Walter Schlack.
He's a whole different kind of creepy.
He is a whole different.
Oh, yeah.
As they both go, ugh.
It doesn't help that in my mind, the marionette has the voice of Salad Fingers.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh. Now I
I'm
get
not even going to try to do that voice justice. Even if I could, I don't want to.
I kind of do.
And you gave me the Ghiblies.
I see this soporific has finally worn off enough that we could have some fun.
Wow.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so Calvin is now doing the audiobook version of this for us.
Yes.
And I do not apologize for any future readers or listeners. You brought it upon yourself.
Oh boy.
The only thing
I'm
I
not-
worked on writing today this week was sorry, I was flipping through this book and I found a piece of paper. Story travel. That's what it was. Because I held that contest last month
Ah, yes.
for a short written piece by me.
Hmm.
So I actually wrote that and finished that up this week. This has even already been delivered. I'm just waiting for the recipient to actually come online and see it.
Can we get a small sampling of it, or is it is it a surprise? Or is it appropriate?
It's definitely an adult-only story, as requested by the winner.
Okay.
They asked, do you want a safe for work or not safe for work story? Not safe for work, please.
Say no more.
I can't even give the intro paragraph to Roommate.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
For anyone who's read it. I start off strong.
I already know that this podcast is going to have the mature tag on iTunes, but I'm not sure how far we want to push that.
I mean, what does the first paragraph actually have in it? No, it doesn't have crap in it.
No, I was saying that because I'm out of
Yeah, no, I'm not reading that out loud.
Considering what? First scene is Aiden getting so.
Yeah. If someone else wants to read that out loud, they can, but I'm not.
I'll do it.
You should probably save that for another podcast. And by
That'll be
another
for the
podcast, something
subscribers who
completely from this
pay.
one.
If we have a podcast where subscribers can pay for it, maybe we'll put it on there.
Sounds good to me.
I wonder what that would be, like Word Ninjas After Dark?
I am your host to Word Ninjas After Dark. Today we're going to view an interesting story. A woman who's smuggled a banana into the studio. Tune in later and we'll find out where. Giggity giggity, giggity goo. Alright.
That's a lot better than where my mind went, considering the voice of the Word Ninja generally goes to Gilbert Godfrey.
Oh
I
my
can't
god.
do Gilbert Godfrey. Ugh.
I'm surprised that Calvin did not try to do his own rendition of that.
No. I'm not gonna bother with that one, at least not today anyway.
No Gilbert Godfrey.
Yeah, fair enough. That's only for the After Dark podcast, after all.
Oh, I liked my smooth After Dark speech.
We can have dueling ninjas.
And now, Gilbert, quiet now. It's story time. Story to scintillate the senses for all our mature readers out there.
And boy, do I have a story for you all!
Oh dear.
This has been the most distracted podcast yet.
And how? For me, in terms of writing, it's just the usual endless amounts of code that I write in a given week. Just making sure all websites are up to date and adding functionality
And viewable.
and viewable.
Presumably they are viewable today.
Right, let's check. Money, big money, no whammies. Hey, alright, we're up.
Huzzah.
Oh, yes, Full Coverage Writers website. RSS feeds coming soon.
Hooray. Yeah, I still need to talk to you about various website stuffs.
Yes.
Yeah, we have all sorts of new shiny baubles and concepts and ideas and initiatives in the works. So stay tuned.
Though in terms of, like, actual possible story writings, like ever since I've been doing this podcast, I've been considering revisiting a story, a short story that I started back in college. It was about a hacker that that ends up going crazy because hackers have managed to hack into his brain.
Yes, that story lives on.
You remember that one?
Yes, I do.
I wish I could find the original version because I have no idea where it is.
It's probably in a notebook in storage.
Oh, okay. That's going to be fun trying to find that one, if that's the case.
In some cases, it's better just to start from scratch.
You're probably right, but I'd gotten a decent plot going. It's going to be, if I do continue it, it's going to be extremely augmented, but like I do want to go back and read the base part and like the basis of it and see if I can get it going again. That was actually kind of fun to write, and that was Like, actually, one of the more challenging stories I've actually written.
And it was a fascinating plot from what I remember. I know you had the whole writing group, or the nano group at the time, entranced.
I did?
Yes, you did.
Why don't I remember this?
I'm not sure why, because we were sober. It was at either a Barnes and Nobles or Borders in one of the various cafes where we gathered.
Yep, I remember those. I remember those meetups. I wonder if the magical hard drive upholding might have that story. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Who knows, maybe it'll be your nano novel for the year?
That was actually the plan from the get-go. That was going to be like my nano novel, but that never that kind of hit the back burner super hard.
We'll find a way to get it on the front burner for you. It would be nice one of these years to have you as a participant more than just a cheerleader.
Soon enough. Oh. It's all starting to come back to me, like how into the story I ended up getting, because I actually ended up writing a song based on that story. And if I can remember what year I wrote that song, I can probably figure out where in my hard drive I can find that story.
Was it Glitch by any chance?
No, it wasn't Glitch, it was Arcane.
Oh, nice.
Oh, maybe I'll post up that song and I'll link it to you, and you can put it in the show notes.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I'll do that.
Yay, music sharing.
And I'll share Springtime as well. Well, you know where you can. Wait. You have my SoundCloud page.
Somewhere.
It's. I'll send you that link too. ...2006. Okay. Damn, it's been that long.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because I think it was the second year of Nano where we actually participated in the groups.
Hmm. I will find it.
Ooh.
God, I will find the story. It will be amazing.
Glitch, Springtime. Aw. You don't have it on your SoundCloud page.
Springtime? I thought I did.
You have Springtime and Glitch, but not the other one.
Oh, no, I didn't put that one up. I'll put that up. I'll put that up later.
Oh Lord. I just realized one of your tracks is actually titled After Hours.
We have the closing outro music.
Oh my.
Give you an outro you'll never forget.
Wow.
I'm horrible.
Well, as good as the outro may be, it still helps to have a decent intro.
You raise a good point.
Kind of puts your song The Last Dance of the Countess in a new context.
Mm.
But yes, for those of you not familiar with Calvin's awesomeness with music, we will put a link to his SoundCloud page in the show notes so all of you can enjoy.
Yes, please enjoy. More listeners, the better.
One of these
please-
days, you really need to put like an EP or something together that we can purchase.
In due time.
Like tomorrow?
Well, not that soon.
Tuesday it is.
We'll see. Just a nice, nice primer on all the random tracks I put together. I guess I could do that.
You know you want to.
Yeah, I kind of do.
I think that's enough random derailments for one segment. Although that would bring us to upcoming events. We don't really have any.
Hooray!
The next workshop is scheduled to be in the end of October, around the 26th, but we don't have anything set in stone, figuratively or literally. But I hope to have that figured out in a couple weeks or so. So once that's sorted, I shall let people know accordingly. And with that, it's time to hand out writing prompts. Because everyone needs prompts and ideas and whatnot. What are the prompts for this week?
There it is. Thanks.
The writing prompts are up on the website already under
You
the
sure?
Use Food section. They better be. I posted them.
There we go.
I see them.
Oh, because you got the date all okay with the year first and stuff.
Yeah, that's something that the office has been doing, and it's been infecting my brain. Now I'm kind of doing it out of habit. But we have our 10 one-liners and our 10 one-worders for the week. And as always, if you write a 1,000-word flash fiction piece utilizing any of these sentences and or words and send it to wordninja@fcwriters.com, we will read it live on a future episode of the podcast. And try and keep it in line for this podcast and not the After Dark one.
Although one of these one-liners.
Yeah, I know some of the one-liners kind of give you ideas for an After Dark version, but trying to at least...
I just zoned into don't turn around, they're not decent.
I'm sorry, but I already have plans for it. It's your turn to roll for global peace.
One of these days, she'll learn to dodge.
That one should not sound as mean as it does.
Where did you get these?
I think it's just from listening to various podcasts, certain phrases jump out at me, and I write down a full sentence, and I think, oh, that sounds clever. But then someone reads it out loud, like, oh, oh, oh dear.
Enough with the reminiscing. Time to get down to business.
I love these.
Yeah, I feel like the last sentence is probably one of the best insults, or at least one of the most creative insults you can give right now. A soundtrack of your life would be just a trombone going wah wah. And if you tie in any of the one-worders, I'm sure it'll get even weirder, considering we have words like haystack and whoosh, or even illegitimate,
Illegitimate whoosh.
or tiny director.
Aww.
That's for the After Dark version.
My brain went somewhere completely different, non-sexual for that one. I thought about a very tiny version of Mr. Director from Animaniacs. Nice lady!
Which ties into the first one-liner. Remind me never to go into your mind.
Check the chat real quick.
That's not allowed. That's not allowed at all. Although it's not overly surprising. It was compiled without caffeine, so... Apparently there is a typo in this version, so once someone tells me what it is, I shall
Wait.
fix it.
Bonus points to anyone who can find the typo.
Ah, fair enough. I'll leave it in. I'm not
just so you
really
know.
in the mood to recreate it and repost it. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I get for compiling it all in Illustrator. Illustrator is not spelling friendly.
No, it doesn't spell check for you.
And I don't spell check for myself sometimes.
Well, why should we when the computer does it for you?
Exactly.
But yes, the Muse food is posted on our website, and it'll be in the show notes for this episode. Check them out, write some words, send us your flash fiction. And if it is for non-after-hours appropriateness, we shall read it live. So do your spell checking, so that we're not reading various typos and awkwardness.
Yes. Proofread.
And with that, unless there's anything else people would like to add, it kind of rounds out our podcast for the week.
And just random comment, I found the story.
Huzzah!
Hooray!
I'm excited.
Now all we have to do is peer pressure Calvin into writing it.
I'm still trying to get peer pressure Calvin into drawing from like over a year ago.
I swear, if I have to take this up, I've been doing more drawing than you!
Yeah, don't look at me. I can't even do stick figures.
eventually.
I think the trick is one of us has to become rich and famous so we can all just live off of that one person and be writers and drawers full time.
Can we skip the famous part and just do the rich part?
I'm up for that.
I would
How about
not
rich and infamous?
I don't want to be famous because I don't want everyone to know I'm rich.
Yeah, so one of us has to win the lottery. And then we can do stuff like this podcast and After Dark full time. God help us all.
Ah! I'm being attacked by a cat.
As usual.
He's attacking my feet.
And with that, we can round things out with attendee attributions. Where can people find all of your various creative things and stuff and whatnot?
Same place as always.
Yes, on your little lower third. Or at least that's one of them.
That's the shorter one.
Yeah, it looks to be darkhome.tumblr.com for the listeners who do not have access to show notes or video and whatnot. And onward to the almighty midget.
Screw you, okay? Not a midget. Just because I'm shorter than the three of you! Ass. Okay, short rant for the day over. The best place to find me is, again, it's in my little lower third. The Full Metal Edward Elric.tumblr.com. Most of my writing, my drawing, everything ends up there. I do have a DA. It's Lady Midnight. I hate it, but yeah, stuff's there. I guess that's probably about the two best places to find my stuff.
And how about Z Calvin?
Let's see. My main website where you can find my web design work is calvin.cwilliat.ms. I help run the website riffraff.net. It's a great music blog. New post every day. Riffraff, riffraff.net. Let's see. Oh yeah, you can find my music on SoundCloud. It's soundcloud.com/cdubny, CDUBNY. You can find me on Tumblr at ccwii. I think that about covers everything.
And as for me, you can find all of the various full coverage writer stuff over at fcwriters.com. That's writers with an S. Some people have been leaving that out. You'll also be able to find our previous podcast episodes up there, and we do now have weekly worksheets being posted under the worksheets page, as well as weekly recommended readings under the appropriately named recommended readings page. So head over to fcwriters.com and check all of those out. As Calvin shows on his screen, the latest posts will be on the home page, and then you can click on the side hourglasses to dig deeper and see what else has been posted. And we hope to expand a little more and provide even more content for you in the coming future, so stay tuned. And if you're watching the video version of this, you've obviously found our YouTube page. The easiest way to track it down is Short URL is bit.ly/WNYouTube. It is not a URL-friendly URL when all is written out, so it's easier just to give you that little bit.ly link. I'm kind of hoping to actually provide a good YouTube link on the actual homepage or website at some point, so we're easily trackable.
This week. Keep an eye out.
Yeah, along with all the other various social media links like Facebook, which is facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters. You can check us out there and keep up to date with all the various news and whatnot that we're working on. And as always, if we made you laugh or smile or just entertained you for the last 2 hours, then please like, share, comment, pass our podcast around, and please send us feedback. Email us at wordninja@fcwriters.com if there's something you want us to dig deeper on, or if you want to argue with some of our opinions and commentary, by all means. Send us your emails. Talk with us. We want conversations.
Come at me, bro.
It's fun just being able to talk between the four of us and whoever else happens to be able to come on, but we're doing this for you, so please join in the conversation. Join us in the insanity.
We have cake.
Cakes or it doesn't happen. Actually, I do have cake.
Oh,
Sweet.
But it's for the office.
oh, office cake. No, the cake is a lie.
No, it's not.
And with that, this is the Word Ninja podcast signing out for another week. See you next Sunday.
Adios.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Word Ninja podcast. We're here on July 28th, 2013 for episode 5. And we don't have a title yet because reasons.
The quickening.
Yes. If this is your first episode catching us, the Word Ninja podcast is approximately a 2-hour-long discussion on writing, reading, and general literary news of the moment. I'm your instigator of literary insanity, Charles Muir, and we are joined today with one Calvin Williams,
Hello, everyone.
one Edward Elric, or Edward Midnight,
Hey, hi.
and one William Granville.
How are you doing today?
And to kick things off for this week, we have some new literary news for you all. And to kick things off, we are going to talk about Owl King Publishing, because they are very entertaining and worth talking about.
Do tell.
Well, as I try and bring up the actual URL on my tablet, I shall pretend like I know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's primarily a single author who is doing a 3-way trilogy without the innuendo. But it's basically 3 trilogies that all tie into each other in crazy ways, so you can kind of start reading from any particular part of it, and it all ties in eventually.
Sounds trippy.
Yeah, he calls it the interlocking matrix, which sounds like it's from Star Trek or some such. Yes, that. Let's see. Go to Calvin's screen, because he knows all about screen sharing.
Woot.
And the author of these was actually a vendor at Connecticon. Surprise, surprise. and I got to talking with him for a couple minutes about the three-way trilogies, and it seemed like a very interesting concept, and I kind of want to check out these books just to see how do you do three different trilogies that all tie in magically to each other regardless of the order you read them in.
Just thinking about it hurts my head from a writing standpoint.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the logistics of how do you keep track of that many storylines that all interconnect.
I'd want one of those giant whiteboards that have like that spike.
Stupid tablet, let me click on things. Drop-down menus do not work well on tablets. It confuses them.
Oh God, you don't have to tell me.
Aha! Under the Writing and Research tab of her menu, there's the first drop-down option, a grimoire of grammar.
There.
I thought was an interesting post about writers and grammar in general. That one.
Ah, there it is.
Let's see.
Yeah, plenty of us out there are writers, but we are not necessarily fans of grammar and punctuation or necessarily as adept at them as we should be.
Grammar? What's that?
It's this thing that no one uses anymore.
I does not know what is
They are English.
America.
And all of a sudden, my sound has gone quiet.
Oh.
Probably someone got muted on the background. Because Google Hangouts is silly.
I am technically muted.
I can hear you.
And everybody here with me.
Yes.
Okay, good.
As long as we can all hear each other. And
Yes.
theoretically, listeners can hear us in the future.
Yes. Love you.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Yes, we really are in the same room. Contrary to what it looks like.
But yeah, I thought that was just an interesting blog from a writer worth checking out. And with that, we can migrate to the third piece of literary news, which is another writing blog. This one is Devin Monks, who is one of my favorite authors.
Spiderweb crisscrossing plot point thing on it just to try and keep track.
I think it would have to be like 4 or 5 of those whiteboards. You might need to create a tesseract or something out of them all. But from what I could tell, that's definitely an interesting series worth checking out if you have the time and money to invest in them. I hope to in the future, but at the moment...
Now, the books are only $10 a piece, which is a good price for a book.
True, they are cost-effective at the moment. My current budget does not allow it, though. I just dropped down a good portion of money for fall classes and textbooks.
Ouch.
Yes. So I'm gonna have to whittle down my overly large to-be-read pile already before I can add anything new to it. Let's see here. Going back to the show notes.
This is quite interesting because he's got like 6 trilogies, and the different books fit into the different trilogies in different orders.
Yeah, there's one page on there that shows like the full matrix and how it all magically works
Oh,
together.
there it is. That's crazy. It's like literary math.
Yeah. If Calvin can click on the interlocking matrix, I think that's the link.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, so that'll show like the little cross section of the books so far. I guess he still needs to write the Netherworld trilogy, but they magically tie into the other 3 trilogies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ow, my brain.
Yeah.
Basically.
So for any of you future people checking out this podcast, have you read any of these books or encountered anything similar to this? Has anyone else, any other writer actually tried doing an interlocking matrix style? Because this is the first I've ever seen or heard of it. It looks fascinating, but incredibly confusing.
Definitely a fun challenge for this author.
Yeah, I'd love to get him either on the podcast or just for an interview to kind of learn more about it and how he manages to handle it all. I think it would be an interesting perspective to get.
Most definitely.
And unless there's any other commentary about this particular piece, we can roll on to the second piece of literary news. Which is tabbing between show notes and everything else, the blog of Leona Wisoker, which is an author and writer that we also met at Connecticon, who stopped by our booth for a few minutes.
Here we go.
And I kind of just like the little subheader for her page. What's great about writing? Everything! Well, almost. That really does seem to sum it up for a lot of us.
Oh, yeah.
This is more of just a general blog of a writer, but she does do book reviews and interviews and all sorts of useful little posts about this and that that I thought was worth sharing. And she is another one on my to be interviewed or possibly get on the podcast list. I still have to touch base with her at some point in the near future to see what her scheduling is like. There was one particular sub-page on here I wanted to point out, but I did not put it in the show notes, and thus I cannot find it.
Uh,
Do you remember what it was about?
was it the Devon Monk blog?
No, that's talking point number 3. Or at least literary news piece
That.
number 3. Of this decade, anyway.
He has some nice steampunk stuff in his blog. And ale.
Yeah, Devin Monk is an author of, I forget how many books are in the series now. I think 8 or 9. The Ali Beckstrom series. And a growing series of steampunk. I don't think it's noir. I haven't actually read the steampunk series yet. Although I have the first book in the series in my to-be-read pile.
This seems quite relevant to my interests.
To all of our interests.
Yes.
Mm.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, I guessed right. There are 9 books in the Ali Beckstrom series. Which means I think I am 2 books behind. Shame on me. I happen to like that series because it involves a lot of various magic, politics, and messing with people's minds.
Fun.
And this, I felt this was also an author worth pointing out because for the Ali Beckstrom series, she publishes 2 or 3 of the books per year.
Oof.
Mm.
Yeah. This is her full-time job, and she does it with style.
Nice.
Impressive.
And apparently also has time for various knitting things as well.
Stress relief from all that writing.
If you made the little rain clouds she got on very cute.
And if I remember correctly, a lot of those things that she knits, she also has the patterns up within the posts usually.